Liam stood near gate C9, slowly scrolling through his phone, trying to pass the time before his flight. The airport was loud as usual, with rolling suitcases, fast footsteps, and voices mixing together. But he always enjoyed watching people. There was something comforting about seeing different faces, different lives, all moving in the same place. He didn't know that today would be different, something he would never forget. Nearby, Officer Mason walked with his police dog, Ranger, doing the usual patrol around the security checkpoints. Ranger was well-trained, calm, and focused. People often smiled when they saw him, and Ranger usually wagged his tail back. But today, something in his behavior was different. His ears were standing sharper than normal, and his head kept turning toward the far corner near the row of seats. Liam noticed it too, but he didn't think much of it. Maybe Ranger smelled food or something harmless. He went back to checking his messages, until a loud, sharp bark cut through the air. Ranger barked again, louder this time, making several passengers jump in fear. Mason tightened his grip on the leash. "Easy, boy, what's wrong?" he said softly, but Ranger didn't stop. Instead, he pulled forward hard, dragging Mason toward an old, slightly damaged suitcase placed beside a seat. It looked like someone had left it there in a hurry. People around the gate froze. A woman holding a baby stepped back quickly. A group of teens recording TikToks lowered their phones. Even airport staff stopped talking. Suspense filled the air as Ranger continued barking, circling the suitcase with sharp, aggressive movements. Liam felt something strange in his chest. Fear? Curiosity? He couldn't tell. But he couldn't look away. He noticed the suitcase had a rip on one side and a small dent on top, like it had been thrown hard. Something about it didn't feel normal. Ranger's barking made it even worse. Mason raised his hand to calm the crowd. "Everyone, please step back." His voice was steady but serious. Ranger refused to leave the suitcase. He sniffed it, growled, and barked again. It was clear, this wasn't something small. This wasn't nothing. A soft whisper spread through the crowd. "Is it a bomb?" someone asked. "Maybe drugs," another person guessed. But Liam shook his head. "No, something is moving," he said quietly. He wasn't even sure why he said it. But he had seen it, a slight shift, a tiny push from inside the suitcase a few moments earlier. He thought maybe he imagined it, but now he wasn't so sure. A girl named Olivia, who had been sitting a few seats away, heard him and looked at the suitcase with wide eyes. "Moving? What do you mean moving?" she asked, stepping closer to Liam. "I don't know," he whispered back. "I just saw something." Ranger barked louder, almost desperate now, scraping at the floor with his paws. Mason immediately grabbed his radio. "This is Unit 7. We have an abandoned suitcase showing signs of movement. K9 indicates high alert. Requesting backup." Liam felt the atmosphere change instantly. People backed away even more. Some recorded the scene on their phones, but most looked scared. Olivia hugged her backpack tightly, shifting from foot to foot. A man near the window muttered a prayer. The suitcase suddenly shifted again. This time, everyone saw it. A small jerk, then stillness. Someone gasped. A woman screamed. Mason's eyes narrowed. Ranger growled low, standing protectively between the suitcase and the passengers. "Everyone move back now." Mason shouted. Security guards rushed in, pushing the crowd away from the area. The entire gate became silent except for Ranger's heavy breathing and the occasional soft beep from nearby monitors. Liam's heartbeat grew faster. It didn't make sense. Why would a suitcase move? Why would Ranger be reacting like this? It had to be something alive. But what? And who would leave something, or someone, inside a suitcase? The suitcase moved again, but this time there was a faint sound too. A small, weak thump, almost like a soft knock. No one could deny it now. Something was inside. "What is that?" Olivia whispered, her voice shaking. Mason leaned slightly closer, listening carefully. The crowd waited in painful silence. Then it came. A tiny, terrified whimper. The kind of sound that didn't match danger, but matched fear. Matched pain. Matched a living being. Liam felt chills run down his arms. His breath caught. The people behind him began whispering again, this time softer, more confused than afraid. Ranger stopped barking and instead sat down right beside the suitcase, staring at it with sad, gentle eyes. His body relaxed, and he looked at Mason, almost as if asking him to help. Mason pressed his hand against the suitcase, feeling the vibration from inside. For a moment, he closed his eyes, his face changing from suspicion to worry. "This can't be what I think it is," he said quietly to himself. But Liam heard it. And so did Olivia. Everyone stood frozen as officers rushed into the area, and the mysterious, heartbreaking truth inside the suitcase waited to be revealed. Backup officers rushed toward Gate C9, the sound of their boots echoing through the airport floor. Passengers stared in fear as the area was sealed off with bright yellow security tape. No one dared to go closer, but no one wanted to leave either. Everyone wanted to know what was inside that suitcase. Officer Mason stayed near the suitcase with Ranger pressed closely beside him. Ranger was no longer barking wildly. Instead, he stayed still, ears low, tail stiff. He wasn't afraid, he was worried. That scared the officers more than the barking had. Liam stood behind the crowd, trying to calm his breathing. The soft whimper he heard still played in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that something innocent was trapped inside. Olivia, who had slowly moved closer to him, hugged her arms and kept glancing at the security barriers. One of the arriving officers, a tall man named Jackson, approached Mason with a serious look. "What do we have?" Mason didn't look away from the suitcase. Movement inside. And a sound, like a whimper. Jackson frowned. "Animal?" "I don't know," Mason replied. But Ranger reacted like it's alive. Just as Jackson moved closer, the suitcase jerked again, harder this time. The crowd gasped. A man holding a laptop stepped back so fast he almost fell. Olivia covered her mouth, and Liam took a slow step forward, his eyes fixed on the bag. Another faint cry came from inside. It was short, weak, and heartbreaking. Ranger let out a soft whine, placing one paw gently on the suitcase. Jackson's eyes widened. "Okay, this is definitely alive." Officers quickly formed a protective circle while one of the security staff began pushing passengers farther back. The airport sound system repeated announcements, but people barely listened. All eyes were on the abandoned suitcase. Mason crouched slightly closer, keeping his hands steady. "We need the remote opening kit," he called out. An officer ran toward the equipment room. Olivia took a shaky breath. Someone left that, whatever it is, inside. Who would do that? Liam shook his head. "I don't know. But it doesn't sound dangerous. It sounds scared." She nodded, but her eyes stayed fixed on the suitcase. Who leaves something alive, like that? Before Liam could answer, two airport workers brought over a small screen showing the CCTV footage. Jackson leaned over it immediately. Liam and Olivia tried to peek from a distance, but the officers kept them back. Jackson rewound the footage to show the moment the suitcase was placed under the row of seats. A woman wearing a hooded jacket looked around nervously, then set the suitcase down gently. She kept checking over her shoulder as if someone was following her. Within seconds, she rushed away, disappearing into the crowd. Olivia frowned. She looked scared. "Or guilty," one of the officers replied. The suitcase shook again. This time, the sound was louder, a short, trembling cry. The remote suitcase opening tool arrived. It looked like a small robotic arm with a clamp at the end. Mason guided the officer holding it. "Place it here, carefully." As the robotic clamp slowly connected to the zipper, the entire crowd watched in complete silence. Liam felt his stomach twisting with anxiety. He didn't want to see something terrible. But he also couldn't walk away. Ranger suddenly stood up, ears forward, tail straight. He leaned closer, nose almost touching the suitcase. For a moment, he froze, then let out a deep, emotional sound, something between a whine and a soft bark. Mason looked down at him and whispered, "You know, don't you?" Ranger didn't move. The robotic arm began opening the zipper little by little. Each sound of the metal sliding echoed through the quiet gate. Olivia shut her eyes tightly for a second but forced herself to look. Liam could feel sweat forming on his palms. Halfway through unzipping, something pushed from inside. The bag bulged outward. Several passengers yelped and stepped back. Jackson raised his voice. "Hold it steady." The robotic arm paused, then continued slower than before. When the zipper reached the halfway point, the movement inside grew more frantic, like someone weakly trying to push their way out. Ranger barked once, not aggressively, but urgently, as if telling them to hurry. Another tiny cry came from inside, but this one was clearer. And human. Olivia gasped loudly. That sounded like a child. Liam felt his heart drop. No way. Mason swallowed hard, his hands steady but his eyes wide. The robotic arm moved again, opening the suitcase the final few inches. The zipper stopped just before the corner. Silence. The officers exchanged a look. Slowly, Mason reached forward and lifted the flap of the suitcase with 2 fingers, just enough to see inside without exposing everything. The moment he looked, his face changed. Not confused. Not scared. Broken. He took a shaky breath and whispered, barely loud enough for Ranger to hear, "Oh my God." Liam's chest tightened. Olivia grabbed his arm without even realizing it. Before anyone could ask, a small hand, tiny, weak, trembling, pushed through the gap in the zipper and reached into the light. The crowd gasped. Someone began crying softly. And the truth became clear. There was a child inside. But no one knew yet why she was there, or who had put her through something so cruel. The real story was only beginning. The officers moved fast after seeing the small hand reach out of the suitcase. Jackson signaled everyone to step back as Mason gently pulled the zipper farther. The suitcase opened slowly, revealing a tiny girl curled up inside, her knees pressed to her chest as if she had been hiding from the world. Her hair was messy, her face pale, and her eyes half open from exhaustion. Ranger lowered his head and sniffed the air softly, as if confirming she was safe now. The child let out a weak whimper, barely above a whisper. Mason leaned closer. "It's okay, sweetheart, you're safe now." His voice cracked slightly, something Liam had not expected from an officer usually so strong. A medical team rushed in with a small stretcher. Olivia covered her mouth with shaking fingers, tears forming in her eyes. "Who would leave a child in a suitcase?" she whispered. Liam didn't answer. He couldn't. He felt frozen. The image of the little girl burned into his mind. She looked no older than 5, maybe 6. Her small fingers trembled as she tried to reach for the light. She didn't look dangerous. She didn't look like part of anything illegal. She looked scared, forgotten, and abandoned. Mason carefully lifted her from the suitcase. She was light, too light, as if she hadn't eaten properly for days. The moment she felt his touch, she clung to his shirt with surprising strength, burying her face against him, shaking. "It's okay," Mason repeated softly, holding her like she was something fragile. "You're safe now. We've got you." Ranger let out one soft bark and wagged his tail slowly. It was his way of saying he knew this was the moment he was trying to warn everyone about. The medical team wrapped a small blanket around the girl. She blinked slowly, her lips dry, her skin warm with fever. When one of the medics asked gently, "What's your name, sweetie?" she struggled to speak but whispered one word. "Ella." Olivia gasped quietly. Liam felt something twist inside his chest. Hearing her say her own name in such a soft, broken voice hit harder than seeing her inside the suitcase. The medics lifted her onto the stretcher. But the moment they began to move her, Ella reached out again, this time toward Ranger. Her tiny hand brushed his fur. Ranger leaned his head into her palm, giving her the first bit of comfort she had probably felt in a long time. Mason watched the moment and whispered to Jackson, "This wasn't an accident. Someone put her there on purpose." Jackson nodded. "We need to find whoever did this." As the medics carried Ella toward the emergency room, Mason followed close behind. Ranger stayed next to him, eyes alert. Liam and Olivia slowly walked along the edge, watching the scene unfold. Olivia's voice trembled. She could have died inside that suitcase. Liam nodded slowly. But she didn't, because Ranger wouldn't stop barking. They both stood still for a moment, letting the weight of the situation settle. What started as a normal airport afternoon had turned into something unforgettable. Nearby, 2 officers rolled out a portable desk to start gathering witness statements. They needed every detail: the woman from the CCTV footage, the exact time the suitcase was left, who walked past it, who touched it, who ignored it. Detective Ethan, a calm and sharp-looking officer, arrived moments later. He scanned the area carefully, noticing every detail: the suitcase's worn-out edges, the pattern on the nail polish of the woman in the CCTV still frame, the way Ella's shoes were tied too tightly, as if someone rushed. Ethan walked over to the suitcase and crouched down. "This wasn't packed by a child," he murmured. "The clothes, the straps, the way she was positioned, someone knew exactly how to hide her." Olivia felt a shiver run through her body. Liam looked down at the suitcase, feeling anger now instead of fear. "She was trapped," he said quietly. "Completely trapped." Ethan stood up and looked at the officers. "We're dealing with someone who planned this. Someone who wanted to leave her here without being noticed." He turned to Mason. "You said there was movement before?" "Yes," Mason said. "She tried to push from inside." "And Ranger picked up the sound before anyone else?" Mason nodded. "He knew something was wrong immediately." Ethan turned toward Ranger, giving him a nod of respect. "Good dog." Ranger wagged his tail slightly but kept his eyes on the suitcase as if checking it one last time. Meanwhile, the officers brought over a portable monitor to show Ethan the CCTV footage. Liam and Olivia stood near enough to watch, but not close enough to interfere. The footage played again, the woman in a hood, placing the suitcase carefully, almost gently. Then she walked away fast, constantly looking behind her. Ethan narrowed his eyes. She wasn't abandoning a suitcase. She was running from something, or someone. Mason crossed his arms. "We need to find her." "We will," Ethan replied. He turned toward the crowd. "We need witnesses. Anyone who saw her, talked to her, walked near her." Liam stepped forward. "I saw the suitcase move," he said simply. "And I saw her walking fast," Olivia added, voice shaking but determined. Ethan motioned them over. "Then we need your statements." As Liam and Olivia approached, Rangers stood tall beside Mason, ready for whatever happened next. But deep inside the airport, running through crowded hallways and searching for a hiding place, the mysterious woman from the CCTV footage was still somewhere inside. And she wasn't done running. The medical team rushed Ella through the long hallway toward the airport's emergency care room. Mason stayed close behind, walking fast but trying not to scare the child. Ranger trotted beside him, staying quiet, ears alert, eyes focused as if he understood the importance of every second. Ella kept her tiny hand outside the blanket, reaching toward Ranger from the stretcher. Whenever her hand touched his fur, she calmed a little, her breath becoming less shaky. The bond formed in seconds, but it felt strong, like she trusted Ranger more than anyone else in the room. Liam and Olivia followed at a distance, not wanting to get in the way but unable to walk away. Something pulled them toward the story now: fear, curiosity, sadness, or maybe all three. Inside the medical room, the team checked Ella's pulse, her temperature, and her breathing. She was alive, but weak. Very weak. Mason stood near the door, refusing to leave until someone told him she was truly safe. Ranger sat directly in the doorway, blocking anyone who tried to walk in without permission. The medic, Harper, looked up at Mason. "She's dehydrated, tired, and scared, but she's going to be okay." Mason let out a breath he didn't even realize he was holding. Ranger lay down slowly, finally relaxing. Ella opened her eyes a little more and whispered something faint. Mason leaned in. "What did you say, sweetheart?" Ella swallowed hard and whispered again. "She told me to hide." Mason froze. He kneeled beside her. "Where is your mom? Is she at the airport?" Ella blinked, confused. Her eyes filled with tears. She said, "People were coming, bad people?" Harper placed a hand gently on the girl's shoulder. "It's okay. You're safe now. You don't have to be scared." Ella looked at Mason again. She said, "Don't make noise. Don't say anything." She said she'll come back. Mason exchanged a sharp glance with Harper. If Ella's mother left her intentionally, why did she leave her in a suitcase? Was she running from something? Or hiding her from someone? Outside the medical room, Detective Ethan was talking with officers near the small command setup they created. The CCTV footage played again and again. The woman didn't look cruel. She looked terrified. Ethan tapped a finger on the screen. Zoom in on her hands. An officer zoomed in. Her hands were shaking when she placed the suitcase down. Her fingers looked scraped, as if she had been grabbing something rough. Ethan studied her face behind the hood, only a part of her cheek visible. She's not calm, Ethan said. Her breathing is heavy. And look at her eyes. What about them? Jackson asked. She keeps staring behind her. She's running from someone. Jackson raised a brow. So she wasn't abandoning the child? Not voluntarily, Ethan replied. I don't think this was her plan. Inside the medical room, Ella blinked slowly again. Mom said, they will find us. Mason felt a cold chill travel down his back. Who will find you? Ella hesitated. Her small hand tightened around the blanket. The men. Before she could say more, her energy faded and her eyes closed. Harper checked her again and said, she's sleeping. She needs rest. Mason stood up slowly and walked outside. Ranger followed. Liam and Olivia were waiting in the hallway, their faces full of worry. Is she okay? Olivia asked. She's stable, Mason said softly. But she's been through something terrible. Ranger nudged Mason's leg gently, sensing his tension. Ethan walked over, eyes sharp. We need to understand her situation fast. If someone is looking for her, they might still be near. Mason nodded. Ella said her mother told her to hide from men. And that they were coming after them. Olivia's voice trembled. Does that mean the mother is in danger too? Possibly, Ethan replied. Or worse, already caught. Liam frowned. But if her mom didn't want to leave her, why put her in a suitcase? Ethan thought for a moment. Maybe she needed to hide her quickly. Maybe she thought the suitcase was the only safe place. Maybe she planned to come back but got chased away. Olivia hugged herself tightly. That's heartbreaking. Just then an officer ran toward Ethan holding a tablet. Sir, you need to see this. He tapped the screen. It showed new CCTV footage from the parking garage. The same hooded woman was running down the ramp, looking terrified. She stumbled, grabbed a railing, then disappeared behind a pillar. But someone else appeared behind her. A man in a dark jacket, tall, moving confidently, following her. Ethan's eyes widened. There it is. She wasn't abandoning her child. She was trying to protect her. Mason felt his jaw clench. Where is the woman now? Did we track her? The officer shook his head. She vanished on level 3. Cameras show she didn't exit the garage. She must still be inside. Ethan grabbed his radio. All units, seal level 3. She might be injured, hiding, or being hunted. Ranger suddenly stood up, ears sharp, tail still. He looked toward the hallway leading to the parking area and let out a soft growl. As if he sensed something coming. Olivia stepped back. Liam swallowed hard. Mason looked at Ranger, then at Ethan. He picked up something. Ethan nodded. Then we follow him. Everyone move. And with that, Ranger began walking, nose low, eyes focused, leading them toward the next piece of the truth. The chase for Ella's mother had begun. The airport was finally quiet, but Alex felt as if a storm was still moving inside his chest. The strange suitcase, the crying child, the mother who disappeared, everything kept spinning in his mind like a puzzle with missing pieces. His shift should have ended an hour ago, yet he could not walk away. Something about the little girl's empty stare and Luca's persistent barking told him the story was not finished. He sat beside the girl in a small waiting room. She kept her hands close to her chest, holding the little wooden toy her mother had given her. It was the only thing she had left. Alex tried speaking to her softly, hoping she would relax, but she only whispered short, broken answers. Do you remember where your mother was going? He asked. She shook her head slowly. She said she would be back. She promised. Alex felt his throat tighten. Promises were easy to give, but life didn't always let people keep them. A few minutes later, Officer Jenna rushed in with a file in her hand. Her voice was steady, but her eyes held worry. "We found something," she said. Alex stood immediately. Luca lifted his head too, sensing tension through the air. Jenna placed a printed passenger list on the table. The woman, Sarah Malik, was supposed to board a connecting flight to another city. But, she paused. She never did. Alex frowned. So she stayed here? Went somewhere else? That's what we're trying to understand. Jenna held out another document. But this is what shocked me. She reported domestic threats last month. She was trying to escape someone. The room felt heavier. The little girl looked up for the first time, as if she somehow understood. Her small voice trembled. Is he coming? Alex knelt beside her. Who, sweetheart? She swallowed hard. My father. The air went still. Jenna's eyes widened just slightly. So he might be looking for them? The girl nodded, tears appearing silently. Mama said, we have to go far. She said he will take me away if he finds us. Alex felt a tremor run through him. The barking at the suitcase. The scent of fear Luca sensed. The mother disappearing. It all pointed toward danger that was not finished yet. Did anyone else see her mother? Alex asked. Any cameras? Jenna pulled out her tablet. That's the strange part. Cameras caught her walking toward the exit, but after that she's gone. No taxi. No bus. No corridor movement. Like she vanished into thin air. Alex began thinking quickly. She wouldn't leave her daughter behind willingly. She must have been forced. Maybe someone met her before she could reach the street. Before Jenna could respond, Luca suddenly stood up, ears sharp, body tense. He stared at the closed door, growling low. Alex's heart jumped. Luca never reacted without reason. A knock echoed from the hallway, slow, heavy, unsettling. Jenna instantly moved toward the girl protectively. Alex approached the door with steady steps, though every instinct in him stayed alert. He opened it just enough to see who was outside. A man stood there. Tall, stiff shoulders, face exhausted but eyes burning with something sharp. His clothes looked traveled, dusty, and his hands clenched tightly around a phone. Officer, I need help, the man said. Alex studied him carefully. What happened? My wife, she's missing. And my daughter too. The words hit Alex like a hammer. Behind him, the little girl gasped. Papa? Her voice cracked in fear. The man looked up sharply, hearing her. His eyes widened in recognition. Alex moved subtly to block the doorway. Sir, we need you to stay right there. The man stepped forward urgently. I just want my family. Stay, Alex said firmly. Luca stepped beside Alex, teeth slightly visible, ready to protect. The man froze, breathing hard. You don't understand. She ran away. She took my daughter. I need them back. The girl shook her head quickly. Oh, Papa, please. Her voice was filled with fear, not longing. Alex turned back to the man. Why did she run? The man clenched his jaw. Because she thinks I'm a monster. She thinks I would hurt them. But she doesn't understand. I only wanted control because I love them. Those words sent a chill down Alex's spine. Control. Not protection. Not care. He had heard that tone before, from people who masked fear with force. Jenna moved closer to the girl, whispering reassuringly. Luca growled again, sensing the tension rising. Alex spoke slowly, carefully. Sir, your wife reported threats. She was scared. The man snapped. She exaggerated. She always exaggerates. I told her to listen, just listen, and everything would be fine. His voice echoed violently through the hallway. The girl curled into Jenna, shaking. Alex stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. You need to come with us. Right now. In handcuffs, the man shouted. For loving my family? Luca barked sharply, a clear warning. The man flinched. Alex knew this moment could break into danger in seconds. But he kept his tone steady. You're not under arrest, Alex said softly. But you're not going to your daughter. Not like this. The man's breathing turned ragged. I just want to hold her. She's scared of you, Alex said. That tells us everything. The man's face fell, anger mixed with something like pain, but also denial. Complete denial. For a moment, the world went silent. Then he whispered, "Where is my wife?" Alex answered honestly, "We're trying to find her. And we will." The man lowered his head, fists shaking. Luca stood firm, guarding the small girl who finally felt someone was protecting her. The man stood in the hallway, breathing hard, his eyes fixed on the little girl who refused to look at him. Her small hands kept shaking, clutching Jenna's sleeve tightly. Alex could feel the fear in the air. It wrapped around the room like cold smoke. And Luca, standing firm between the man and the child, didn't take his eyes off the stranger for a single second. Before anything else could happen, Jenna's radio crackled. Emergency update for Officer Jenna and Officer Alex. We found the missing woman. Sending details now. Alex felt his stomach twist. The little girl looked up suddenly, hope rising in her eyes. Even the man straightened, though fear flickered across his face for the first time. Jenna clicked the radio. Is she safe? The voice replied, She's alive, but injured. The room froze. The girl let out a tiny cry and covered her face. Alex felt his heart break a little, but he didn't let himself show it. He needed to stay calm. The radio continued. A taxi driver found her near the service road behind the airport, unconscious but breathing. She kept saying, "My daughter is inside. Please protect her." She was taken to the medical unit. She's asking for her daughter. The man stepped forward suddenly. I need to see her, now. Alex blocked the doorway again. Sir, until we understand what happened, you're not going anywhere near her. The man's voice cracked. She's my wife. And she ran with your child, Alex replied, and ended up injured. Think about that. The man looked down, jaw clenched, fists tightening like he was fighting with himself, fighting reality. Jenna turned to the little girl. Sweetheart, do you want to see your mother? The girl nodded quickly, tears streaming. Alex knelt beside her. We will take you to her. She's safe now. But the girl didn't move. She kept glancing nervously at her father, who still stood there like a shadow. Alex noticed. Do you want him to stay here while you go to your mother? She nodded again, timid but firm. Alex stood slowly. Sir, you need to stay back. Please step into the waiting room with the other officers. The man's voice softened suddenly. I never meant to hurt them. Alex looked straight into his eyes. People who love don't make their families run away terrified. The man lowered his head. For the first time, silence replaced anger. A heavy, painful silence. 2 officers escorted him away gently. He didn't resist. Maybe he finally understood something he had refused to face for years. Now the room felt lighter, just a little. Jenna carried the girl while Alex and Luca followed down the long corridor. Each step felt like an emotional journey, the kind you feel deep inside. The girl buried her face in Jenna's shoulder, whispering, Is Mama really okay? Alex smiled softly. Yes. And she's waiting for you. When they reached the medical unit, a nurse guided them into a quiet room. Sarah, the mother, lay on a bed with bandages on her forehead. Her eyes were closed, but when she heard the door open, she forced them open. The moment her eyes fell on her daughter, everything inside her broke. Amira, she whispered. The girl ran to her mother with a cry that shook everyone in the room. Sarah wrapped her trembling arms around her, holding her as if she was afraid to ever let go again. Alex stepped back, giving them space. Even Luca lowered his head, almost respectfully. Sarah kissed her daughter's hair again and again. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I tried to protect you. I never wanted him to find us. Amira clung tightly to her. I was scared, Mama, but they saved me. Sarah looked at Alex and Jenna with grateful, teary eyes. Thank you for listening to her. For keeping her safe. People didn't believe me before. Alex felt something deep twist inside him. We believe you now. And we'll make sure no one hurts either of you again. Sarah nodded, holding her daughter close. Then she noticed Luca standing patiently. Her voice cracked with emotion. "And your dog? He saved us too." Alex smiled. "He just followed his heart." The doctor walked in gently. "She needs rest," he whispered. Alex and Jenna gave the mother and daughter one last reassuring look before stepping out. Luca followed. Outside the room, Alex leaned against the wall, exhaling deeply. "I think this is the first time today I can breathe." Jenna laughed softly, though her eyes were shiny. "You did good. We all did." Alex looked down at Luca, who wagged his tail proudly. "You too, buddy. You're the real hero here." Luca barked once, short, happy, confident. A sound that filled the hallway like warm light. The crisis was not completely over. There would be investigations, statements, decisions. But the most important thing had happened. A mother and daughter were safe, together, free from fear. And Luca, the dog who barked at a suitcase, had uncovered not danger, but a story of love, pain, survival, and hope.